The 8th episode of MobLand serves as the season finale, bringing together all the tangled threads of betrayal, loyalty, power struggles, and personal transformation that have defined Season 1. Titled The Reckoning, this episode delivers high-tension, emotional payoffs, and several shocking twists that leave both characters and viewers reeling. It's a culmination of everything that has been building up, from mob wars to internal betrayals, from moral dilemmas to shattered trust. The title itself suggests that someone will be held accountable, and by the end of the episode, it becomes clear that no one is safe. Setting the stage. The episode opens with the aftermath of the previous episode's major confrontation between Vincent Moretti and Marcus Kane. The city is on edge, with whispers of war spreading through both law enforcement and criminal circles. The police are under pressure to contain the escalating violence, while the underworld is caught in a power vacuum following the fall of several key figures. Vincent, once seen as a rising star in the mob world, now finds himself isolated and hunted. Meanwhile, Marcus, having turned informant, is living under constant threat but also holding valuable information that could bring down entire organizations. The city feels like a powder keg ready to explode. In the opening scenes, we see how different factions are reacting. Some are trying to maintain order, others are positioning themselves for a takeover, and a few are simply trying to survive. Vincent's descent. Vincent Moretti, the central figure of the series, is at his lowest point. Once a man who believed he could navigate the violent world of organized crime with honor, he now sees only chaos and betrayal around him. His former allies have either disappeared or turned against him. His mentor, Paulie Romano, was killed earlier in the season, and now even those who swore loyalty to him have abandoned ship. This episode delves deep into Vincent's psyche. We see flashbacks of his early days in the mob, showing how he was drawn into this life not just by ambition, but by a sense of belonging. He was a young man looking for a family, and the mob gave him structure, purpose, and identity. But now, stripped of all that, he questions whether he ever truly belonged or if he was always just a pawn in someone else's game. His paranoia grows. Every shadow seems to hide a potential assassin. Every phone call might be tapped. He starts seeing enemies everywhere, and his judgment begins to cloud. He makes impulsive decisions, trusting the wrong people and pushing away the few who still care about him. One such moment involves a tense confrontation with Elena, his ex-girlfriend and mother of his child. She pleads with him to walk away, to start over somewhere new. But Vincent refuses. He believes he owes it to the memory of those who died, including Paulie, to see this through to the end. Marcus Kane, the informant's burden. On the other side of the law, Marcus Kane is dealing with the consequences of his decision to cooperate with the FBI. He's been relocated, given a new identity, and placed under protection. But freedom comes at a cost. He's haunted by guilt, not just for betraying his former associates, but for the lives lost because of the information he provided. In one powerful scene, Marcus meets with Agent Harris, the lead investigator on the case. Their conversation reveals the full extent of what Marcus has done. He's handed over evidence that will take down multiple crime families, but he knows that doing so means signing death warrants for men he once called brothers. He asks Harris if any of them can still be saved. Harris, cold and pragmatic, tells him that some things can't be undone. Marcus tries to convince himself that he did the right thing, but the weight of his actions is crushing. He spends hours staring at old photos, replaying conversations in his head, wondering if there was another way. His mental state deteriorates, and he begins to question whether he'll ever find peace. The mob's response. With Vincent weakened and Marcus out of reach, the remaining mob factions begin maneuvering for control. There's a meeting in a back room of an upscale restaurant where several high-ranking members gather to discuss the future. Old rivalries resurface, and new alliances are formed. The tension is palpable as each man tries to assert dominance without triggering an outright war. Among the most dangerous players is Carmine Viti, a ruthless capo who has long been waiting for his chance to rise. He uses the chaos to eliminate rivals, framing one for murder and orchestrating hits on others. His methods are brutal but effective. By the end of the episode, he emerges as the new face of the organization, a cold, calculating leader who values power above all else. Vidi's ascent marks a turning point for the mob. Where Vincent tried to maintain some semblance of order and tradition, Vidi embraces ruthlessness. He doesn't care about codes of honor or respect. He only cares about results. Under his leadership, the mob becomes more violent, more unpredictable, and more dangerous than ever before. Betrayals and reckonings. As the episode progresses, it becomes clear that not everyone who survived the earlier chaos will make it to the end. Betrayals unfold rapidly, and loyalties are tested. A subplot involving Vincent's former enforcer, Tony Rizzo, takes a dark turn when Tony decides to cut a deal with the feds in exchange for immunity. He betrays Vincent completely, giving the FBI details about past crimes and upcoming plans. When Vincent learns of Tony's betrayal, he confronts him in a dramatic showdown. The two men have a history, and their final moments together are filled with anger, regret, and sorrow. Vincent gives Tony a chance to explain himself, to justify his actions, but Tony can only offer excuses. In the end, Vincent kills him, but not before making him understand that he's lost everything. No deal with the government will save him from the wrath of those he's betrayed. Meanwhile, Elena is targeted after being identified as someone close to Vincent. She goes into hiding, but not before sending her daughter to live with relatives out of state. Her fear is palpable, and she realizes too late that she never truly escaped the mob world. Even though she left Vincent years ago, the connection remains, and it puts her life in danger. The final confrontation. The climax of the episode centers around Vincent's final stand. Knowing that he's being hunted by both the authorities and his former allies, he decides to make one last move. He tracks down Marcus, determined to confront him face to face. Their meeting is intense and emotionally charged. Vincent isn't there to kill Marcus, not yet. He wants answers. He wants to know why Marcus did it, why he didn't come to him first, why he chose betrayal over brotherhood. Marcus, shaken but composed, explains that he saw no other way out. He thought exposing the truth would somehow bring justice, but he admits he was naive. He says he regrets what happened to Polly, to Vincent, to everyone caught in the crossfire. But he also stands by his decision, believing that the cycle of violence had to be broken somehow. Vincent listens, silent and unmoving. Then, in a moment that leaves the viewer stunned, he lowers his gun. Instead of killing Marcus, he walks away. It's a powerful moment of forgiveness, or perhaps resignation. Either way, it shows that Vincent, despite everything, hasn't become a monster like Vidi. He still clings to some remnant of humanity. But Vincent's mercy won't save him. As he walks away from Marcus, he's ambushed by Vidi's men. Despite putting up a fierce fight, he's eventually captured. What happens next is left ambiguous until the very end. The aftermath. The final scenes of the episode show the fallout from Vincent's disappearance. The media reports on his suspected death, painting him as a tragic antihero, part villain, part victim. Marcus, now fully under federal protection, watches the news in silence. He looks haunted, unsure if he's free or simply trapped in a different kind of prison. Elena, finally safe, receives a message from Vincent, a voicemail left before his capture. In it, he apologizes for everything and tells her he hopes she and their daughter can build a better life. It's a touching moment that humanizes Vincent even further, showing that beneath the violence and bravado, there was always a man searching for redemption. Carmine Vidi, now firmly in control, hosts a lavish party to celebrate his rise to power. The camera pans across the room, showing familiar faces, some smiling, some uneasy. The message is clear. The mob may have changed hands, but its soul remains the same. And then, in a chilling final shot, we see Vincent, bruised, bloodied, but alive, locked in a dark basement. A voice off-screen tells him, "You should have stayed dead." The screen cuts to black. Themes and character arcs. Reckoning explores several key themes. Loyalty versus survival. Vincent and Marcus represent two sides of the same coin. One who stayed loyal to the end, and one who chose survival at the cost of loyalty. Redemption. Both Vincent and Marcus seek some form of redemption, though neither fully achieves it. Vincent tries to walk away, but is dragged back in. Marcus exposes corruption, but pays a heavy psychological price. Power and corruption. Vidi's rise highlights how easily power corrupts. His reign promises to be more brutal than anything that came before. Isolation. Each main character ends the episode isolated in their own way. Vincent physically imprisoned, Marcus emotionally isolated, Elena forced into hiding, and Vidi surrounded by yes-men but lacking real trust.